It's about that time of day again here, boys and girls. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's May 8th, 2014. Welcome back to our nightly newsletter, Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome back, boys and girls. My name is Joseph James. In tonight's newsletter, we've got an exciting newsletter in store for you guys this evening. We're going to start out first here talking about the markets today. Gold pushed lower, crude oil trades sideways, and the mini Russell goes everywhere pretty much. Had a very exciting day in the markets. We'll talk about that in just a moment. We'll also dig into what happened in today's news reports. We heard from the ECB this morning. We then saw remarkably lower jobless claims. And once again, my crush at the Fed, Miss Janet Yellen, got back in the microphone today. We'll talk about what she said here today as well. We'll then dig in. Once we know what happened today, we'll then move on for tomorrow. We've got a lot more news on the schedule starting tonight in China, tomorrow morning in Canada, and then we're heading over to the JOLTS report. We got jobs tomorrow morning in the U.S. And then last but not least, the good stuff here, right? At the end of the call tonight, we're going to roll up our sleeves, grab some charts. We've got selling opportunities on gold, selling opportunities on Russell, and we got both sides of the coin, buying and selling opportunities for you guys starting this evening on crude oil futures. That's what to expect tonight in your nightly newsletter. Before we jump into our charts here today, though, I do want to remind you, you can follow the link directly below this video where it says click here to download today's newsletter charts and commentary. The reason why I take the extra time each evening to put those up on slideshare.net is so that you can download the charts and then have them with you while we're going over each chart in tonight's video. So pause the video for me, click on that link, download the charts. If you've got two monitors, have the video on one monitor and have the charts on the other. That way you can follow right along and you can have them ready for tomorrow's trading session. Also, don't forget, if you haven't taken me up on the offer yet, what are you waiting for, guys? I get a special free pass to attend our live trade room, not tomorrow, but Monday afternoon. I don't trade Friday afternoons. Monday afternoon, Monday through Thursday afternoons, I invite you to come out and join me in my live trade room as a guest. I also want to remind you as well here to join our nightly newsletter list. Give me your name and your email address, and I'll shoot you an email every evening when I put up my nightly newsletter. Guys, you got to get over to sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're not watching this video right now on our blog, follow the link below the video and head over to sidewaysmarkets.com so you guys can get all the good stuff there. Let's jump right in here. Markets today, crude oil futures, starting out with the old black gold. Crude oil traded pretty much sideways. And if you remember last night, we talked about how crude had begun to feel a little bit bullish, but we had the majority of the volume above, above the 100. Here we are now trading sideways here today. Now, once again, had a bit of a change in personality. We closed last night near the highs. That would be a bullish clue. That's why we were talking about buying opportunities in last night's newsletter. But sure enough, overnight, something spooked those buyers, and we ended up opening up near the lower third of yesterday's range. Now, look closely here. Some very big important clues. We never broke below the prior low of day. I was amazed. Now, do you remember last night in the newsletter, I told you about 99.79. We were watching this number all morning this morning, just waiting for it just to tumble below there. Because remember what I was saying last night, we were looking to get short here below that 79 down to the prior week low at 98.80. So we had this great opportunity to sell short, but crude never gave it to us. The most important thing here that you want to see on this chart is a very narrow range, just above 100 ticks. Now, my rule of thumb is above 200 ticks and we're wide, below 100 ticks and we're narrow. We pretty much did exactly 100 ticks today, 106 ticks. So I'm going to call that typical, but it's a pretty narrow day for crude oil futures, right? Big scheme of things, we're used to seeing about 175 to 200 ticks on crude. A year ago, we were used to seeing 225 to 275 per day. So this is the timid version of crude here right now in 2014. We'll take it, but we know that today was a narrow range. A narrow range today usually tells us expect a much wider range tomorrow. So look for a much wider range. i.e. more opportunities in tomorrow's price action on crude oil futures. Also, another very big clue. We continue to see the volume hovering just above this big round number, although it is very clear that the buyers and sellers apparently have found it very convenient here at 100 even. Now, I know as day traders, we don't have to think back that far in the past. But do you guys remember we got stuck in this 100 even area for a few weeks about a month and a half ago? So you're seeing here once again, this 100 even. If we don't get above 101 or below 99, we are going to keep using this 100 even as the magnet. So if we go higher and come back, again, 100 even is clearly the acceptable value for prices here on crude. No right or wrong answer to that. It is what it is. So now we know this narrow range today, we're keeping a close eye on breakouts to the upside, to the prior week open, to the prior week high. Now, I don't think we get to 102.20 tomorrow, but boy, there's a chance because, of course, we are talking about crude here. But I would imagine, though, if we end up going higher here, we're probably going to be right around that 101.17. That's where last week's opening bell was on Sunday night. You can also see here that we really haven't changed much from one full week to the next. If you go back a full week here, last Friday's closing print was right there at 99.81. So we've gone a full week here now, and we're right back to pretty much where we started from at the beginning of the week. This goes right along with the attitude of balanced, right? It definitely feels like crude is balanced. If this doesn't look balanced, I don't know what does. So tomorrow morning, we're going to be looking for a break below the prior week close, a break above the high here. So basically, get me above the 144, I'm bullish, below the 99.81, and I'm bearish going into tomorrow. But again, don't be surprised if we see a jump up, we can't get and stay above this, and we come right back to the 100. So we'll be looking tomorrow morning for a breakout of this range, but at the same time, tomorrow afternoon, you definitely might want to be looking for a short covering rally. If this thing takes off to the downside, short covering rally takes it back to 100, or we go higher, right? Profit taking towards the end of the day tomorrow back to 100. So don't say I didn't warn you about that. Early in the session tomorrow, looking for breakouts. Late in the session tomorrow, unless something dramatic happens in the news overnight, we're probably going to finish the day right where we finished up today, right back at 100. All right? I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we catch a big move here, a big tear, and get a nice big range tomorrow. But again, what it looks like right now, we don't have a lot of news in the schedule for tomorrow, at least not in the U.S. session that will affect crude oil. So it's important we remember tomorrow most likely going to finish right where we began today. Moving on now from the black gold to the gold, this funny yellow metal. We've had some very, very narrow ranges here this week. We had a very wide range yesterday. Now remember, folks, wide range on Wednesday, narrow range on Thursday. Narrow range on Thursday, wide range on Friday. You get the picture, right? So we had a pathetically narrow range, 79 ticks. Is this the wrong front month or something? What did I miss? Is it a holiday? Nothing. Almost zero change here. Volume right in the middle. This is looking a lot like crude, right? Yeah, looks a lot like crude. So clearly we're looking for a breakdown to that 1272 or a break out to the upside here up to that 1300. Those are going to be the levels on our radar right now. As you can see here, though, we've got 1305, 1309, and 1315. Those are going to be levels we're looking for tomorrow if the bulls take control. If the bears take control, though, get me below this 84.8, and we're headed south here down to that 1272. So a narrow range here today. Volume piling up right in the middle of that range. We are very balanced here on gold as we go into Friday morning. All we know right now is we're watching for a breakout of this range here. If we don't break out of the range tomorrow on gold, if they give us another one of these sideways ranges, we will then resort to buying lows and selling highs. Come out and see me tomorrow in the trade room, and I'll give you some updated guidance on what we're looking at for gold. Speaking of gold, go back 24 hours ago. Take a look at last night's newsletter. We gave you guys the selling opportunity here at 1294.8 to 1293.2. As of writing on this right now, our target here is at 1281.4. Actually, scratch that. We did update that target. There is a target here now just a little bit above 1281. So I'm going to hold on to that thought. I'm going to finish up the newsletter tonight with some trading opportunities on gold, so hold on tight for that. But as of right now, though, we were able to get into that short here on gold, and we are currently holding until we get down to that target. Again, it's about 1282, and I'll show you guys that in just a moment. Now, just a heads up, tomorrow gold closes at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That means as of 1:25 p.m. Eastern Time, I am out of this trade. I'm not going to hold the funny yellow metal over the weekend. All right, guys? Maybe in the future, but not in the plans for right now. Short selling on gold has had a very, very profitable week here on gold for our trades here called on the newsletter. Up next here, from the gold to the Russell. Now, gold had a very narrow range. The Russell had a nice big wide range. And we continue to see these just wonderful opportunities on the E-minis here right now. I'll tell you, I've been a crude trader for a decade. I'm about to call myself an E-mini trader here right now because you just can't get enough of this. This is fun stuff. In the morning, we pushed higher. In the afternoon, we pushed lower. I'm going to show you guys in a second how we just barely missed that short up there at the highs, if you guys recall from last night's newsletter. But basically, another wide range today on the Russell. We did close lower, so we're still bearish. We've been bearish on this Russell the past few weeks here. Had a nice bull run early in the year, but now we're getting clobbered here by the sellers. Big clue here today, guys, is the majority of the volume right below big round number, 1100. The only thing that would have made this better is if we would have gone through that low of day. This low here at 88.5, I'm going to show you guys another chart here in a moment, but this low at 88.5, this is going to be a major battle zone tomorrow, all right? You can quote me on that. It's going to be a big battle tomorrow. I hope I'm wrong, but I have a funny feeling, though, tomorrow we get stuck here. And that may be all we get tomorrow morning. We'll have to wait and see. You're going to see that in a second. But today, as you can see here, big wide range. That means we may get a narrow range tomorrow down around these lows. Tough to say right now, but I'm definitely expecting this to try to go lower. Pretty much sideways on the 2-day. We got below the prior week low. The volume was below the prior week low. Everything here says bearish. We did get a little bit of a flirt up top here above the highs, but that was really just based on we had Yellen on the microphone this morning, had some great low jobless claims. We got nice strong news out of China. So there was a lot of bullishness to the open, but it definitely did not last here, and we saw that price collapse right back down. We were able to get into a nice, great winning trade right out the gate this morning that really did a good job at padding the account. And then this afternoon, it was just easy money selling this thing off. It has been like this for a while. Yesterday on Russell, it did the exact opposite, right? Dropped at the open, and then whoop, 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 right back up to the highs here by the end of the day. And, you can look at this and say, well, why isn't it going in one direction? It's so difficult. Guys, this is easy stuff right now. This is easy money on the E-minis. You just got to know how to trade it and don't get too greedy. Buy it as it's going higher. When it gets to those highs, see the reversal, sell it back down. It's very, very predictable at this time. So look for the shorts tomorrow. As you can see, big wide range today. Volume below the 1100, volume below the prior week low. Hold on tight, though. I'm going to show you more from these charts here in just a few moments because we got a good plan for tomorrow. Now, there were two trading opportunities overnight on the Russell. The first one was we gave you guys the shorts here at 0.75. That bad boy made over $700 per contract traded. And then, boy, we just barely missed that short, guys. That wouldn't have been awesome. As you can see here, the 11.075, there's one trade there for you off last night's newsletter. And then, missed it by 15 ticks, 18.4. Now, in our live trade room, we closed up here over lunch. But if you were waiting for that short like we were, once you saw that new lower low, you're then able to jump in that baby short. So I'm not going to say you should have jumped into it because I gave you the specific information here, right? I'm not on CNBC. I wouldn't do that to you. What do you mean you can get in the short, right? No, yeah, I know you don't read minds. But this afternoon, though, we saw excellent opportunities here, right, to get short, even though we didn't quite get that easy entry at 18.4. So have had a very good week here on the trades called on the newsletter each evening. I hope you guys have been able to see value on that. How about today in the news? Now that you know more about what happened in the markets today, let's scroll on down here and let's grab a look at what happened today in the news. Now, we had a lot of important news today. It started last night in China, then it moved to Europe, and then, of course, we had the finishing touches in the U.S. First of all, there is a sigh of relief from the Far East right now. If there isn't, I'm surprised, because the Chinese trade balance was finally got a positive number. We have really been, and everyone's got their own opinion on this, but if you're a day trader right now, you've got to be bullish the Chinese economy. You've got to be rooting them on right now, because as my good friend Bill Gross always says, right, when the U.S. catches a cold or when the U.S. sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. But when China's sick, the whole world catches the flu. So we've got a big problem if China doesn't pull this thing out of their hat here. So the first sign of improvement for manufacturing in the last 4 months. This definitely gave a shot in the arm for the European equities in that London trading session. Then we moved to Europe. Now we didn't hear from President Draghi in the ECB until 7:45. So it wasn't until the beginning of the U.S. session that we actually heard from the ECB's press conference, President Draghi. You would think that him and Janet Yellen were taking the same note cards, because he talked about low interest rates, accommodating policy. But one thing that's very interesting about what he said today is he reiterated the commitment to taking action as necessary in the month of June. Now, we're a ways away from that right now, obviously. In fact, the month of May has 5 Fridays in it, so we got a really long way. You get 4 more weeks until we get to that month of June. So we're not going to worry about it too much right now, but definitely Draghi stirring things up here in the ECB this morning. That definitely added to the bullishness in stocks. Then we moved to the U.S. In the U.S., Janet Yellen pretty much just repeated what she said yesterday. Low interest rates, accommodative monetary policy, yada, yada, yada. And the big thing was, though, is that she spoke a lot about wages, wage gaps. I'll tell you, again, like I said yesterday, the more I hear out of this gal, the more I like her. And we've now nicknamed her my FOMC crush, right? So maybe I'll stop there. I will stop there. You guys can think of it from there. Jobless claims tomorrow. Today. Jobless claims came out much lower. Now, we know by now the reason why jobless claims are going lower is because people are leaving the workforce. They're taking jobs that they normally wouldn't settle for, right? You've got MIT math professors right now that are out of work that are getting jobs as janitors here in the U.S. So the non-farm payroll number we saw last Friday confirmed. We've got more jobs being added, but they're not putting more money, and they're not putting more confidence in our pockets right now. So I hate to say this, but kind of like how the housing numbers were kind of just disregarded a couple of years ago, I don't think anyone even cares about these jobless claims anymore. Back in 2010, 2011, nobody cared about housing numbers because there was no such thing as a good report. Now, same thing's happening in jobs. At what point do we just go, heck with it, just take the jobless claims report off the calendar? Because we're not getting much of a reaction to it. It seems like every week we're getting lower numbers. But again, unless you've been living under a rock the past few months, we all know what's going on, right? People are leaving the jobs, the jobs market, or they're taking 2 part-time jobs to, of course, replace 1 full-time job. So hopefully that improves, but that's what's going on right now. Now that you know what happened today in the news, now that you know what happened today in the markets, let's jump right in here and take a look at the news tomorrow morning. Now, we don't have much to work with tomorrow morning in the U.S. session. We have this 10 a.m. JOLTS report. And, of course, speaking of Janet Yellen, this is Janet Yellen's favorite news report, right? The job openings and layoffs number. So this is actually a brand new news report. It's called the JOLTS. It's a brand new news report that was introduced in 2014. As you can see, it's not a star number, right? We know to look closely at the star reports, right? All the starred numbers are the ones that have a bigger impact. So you can see here, we don't have a star next to that JOLTS report, right? So it's still a bit of a sleeper of a news report. It may get some action tomorrow just by default, just because there's nothing else going on. So I would be looking tomorrow, like we usually see. We typically get the best price action around 10 o'clock on Friday mornings, unless, of course, we've got an 8:30 news report in the U.S. tomorrow morning, which we don't. So again, second week here of the month. Next week will be our OPEX week. We've got 10 a.m. though tomorrow morning. So if you're sitting on hands early tomorrow morning in the U.S. session, if it's a little bit sleepy tomorrow morning, don't be worried though. 10 o'clock, you're going to get that best opportunity tomorrow morning. All right. Now, one last thing for tomorrow. We do have news out of China starting tonight, 9:30 p.m. So for all those Asian-based traders, all those London-based traders, you guys have some good news coming out here 9:30 p.m. We also have a number out of Canada tomorrow morning. Now, the reason why I put Canada on here is because they're a big old exporter of the black gold, right? Canada, Russia, Australia, New Zealand, the U.S., these are all countries that have huge crude oil exports. So we may see a little bit of a reaction to that 8:30 news on the crude, on the natural gas. I don't expect to see much, though, tomorrow morning. And then again, we got pretty much the only news here tomorrow in the U.S. session is going to be 10 a.m. So with that said, we have to remember tomorrow's a Friday. All right? Fridays were built to take your money back. So don't let it tomorrow. There is nothing wrong with not trading on a Friday. I know it seems wrong. I know in every other job on the planet, if you don't show up on a Friday, you don't have work on Monday, right? Where I come from, if you don't show up for work on Friday, usually the boss calls you and says, don't bother coming on Monday. But remember, we're day traders. And as a day trader, sometimes the best work that can be done is doing nothing at all. Now, because we have a very mild calendar for tomorrow, and because we had all this stuff happening with Janet Yellen earlier this week, don't be surprised if tomorrow is a bit of a sloppy sleeper. I hope I'm wrong, but typically what happens on a Friday morning is you've got to pick your spots. So if you're trading in London, you definitely want to be in early and in late, right? So 3 a.m. and 7 a.m. tomorrow morning in London. If you're trading the U.S., I'm looking for 8 a.m. until about 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. That's going to be the sweet spot tomorrow. I am not going to be trading, all right? I am not going to be trading after 11:30, all right? So we will be trading until 11:30 tomorrow, but again, Friday morning, not much news on it. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm pretty much banking on the fact that we're going to get our best price action between 8 o'clock and 10:30 tomorrow morning. And I hope I'm wrong. Hopefully something will come out overnight here. Hopefully we'll get Putin will stick his foot in his mouth again. Maybe he'll take his shirt off or something like that, and we can all have some fun tomorrow. Who knows? We'll be waiting for it, but don't forget, tomorrow's a Friday. Cut that thing off early. No trade in the afternoon unless you got a real good reason. Now that we got news ready for tomorrow, let's grab some charts. Roll those sleeves up and let's get ready to rock. Crude still looking bullish here, although we definitely took a bit of a tumble there off that 101 area overhead. We're still bullish. We've still got higher lows. We've still got higher highs. We have yet to make a lower low here, right, in the last few days here. So we're still bullish. Now, what my plan is for this is I've got to get us above the 144. Get me above the 144, and then we're going to start looking for buys here. I've got to be careful around the trend line overhead, and then get a target up top here at 101.40. I'm looking for buys right now on crude, but I do want to see this thing get out of this little muck, this little chop and slop here, right here. So get me out of this area, and then we're off for the race to the buy side. Remember last night, I gave you guys 99.79. I'm now going to adjust that now to 99.70. Get below 99.70. We're looking to sell short below 99.70. I will have to take profit off at that trend line. I will take profit off at the 98.75. So we're looking long here with the new higher high. We're looking short here with a low below 99.70. Now just be careful though to sell short. I don't want to sell short directly into that trend line, so be aware of that trend line there. And then again, 99.75 as our final target here below us on crude. Sorry, 98.75, excuse me. Alrighty, looking good there on crude. And then again, if we get below 98.75, we'll continue here to look for short selling opportunities as we go lower. So bottom line, looking for shorts below the 99.70, looking for longs above the 144. If we stay sideways here tomorrow, I'm buying lows, I'm selling highs accordingly. All right, there's your crude. Now over to the gold. Moving forward here to the gold now. We have a bearish trend. As soon as we got below these key moving averages, this was earlier this week, we gave you guys the heads up to sell gold. We got a short earlier this week, another short earlier right last night, and now here we are heading lower. I've got locations here. My plan for gold here right now is to sell short. I have a target here at 1282.3, 1281.4, and 1284.8, 1282.3, and 1281.4. Excuse me. It's only a Thursday too. Boy, long week. So we got targets below us. I've got locations overhead. Selling short at 93.2, selling short at 96.6, and of course we can't forget about the 1300.3. You might get a chance to be a buyer up here between these two, but you're a little bit crazy to do that. I'm looking for a short here now at that 1309.2 as well. So we got a long-term trend down. I got lower lows. I have lower highs. We're below all the key moving averages. I've got 4 locations to sell short. Who knows what we'll get here? If we do start going lower right now without retracing, I will be getting to that short here as well. And we're going to take our, now if you remember, we talked about that trade earlier. This is the revised target now, 82.3. So if you got short with me last night in the newsletter, 82.3, that's your revised target here for the gold short sellers. And then of course, last but not least here, we've got the mighty mini Russell. Again, we go up, we go down, and it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun here on the Russell. Now, what's very interesting is that we need to get out of this range here before we really start getting anything new right now. We get a bunch of support here, 88.5. I am going to be looking to sell at the 1104 and the 1111 if we get the price to get up there. All right. So if it does retrace here, I'm going to be drooling over that short at 1104 with the target down there at 1088.5. Now, here's a very, very big important factor for tomorrow. The 1088.5. Now, on this JJ chart, right, this is a range-based chart, you can't see below this very well. I am looking for short selling opportunities here on the Russell right now, but I must take my profit at the 88.5. You can hold on to a runner if you want to, but I don't want to say the word predicting, but I'm expecting this to be a war between the buyers and sellers tomorrow, all right? I'm expecting there to be a fist fight, right? Something's going to break out there tomorrow. I'll be very surprised if we just crush right through it. But if we fall right through it, then you got to be looking short here below 88.5. I don't see it happening, though. Unless I'm missing something, open up a 4-hour chart, okay? Open a 4-hour chart. Put 180 days of data on it, put a year worth of data on it, and you're going to see here on this 4-hour chart, look at this area here. First of all, the 1073.7, that's what we're shooting for. But you'll notice here now, we've broken this big long-term trend. Look at the area here at the 88.5. We've got a big battle going on right here at 88.5. So my gut tells me, without much happening tomorrow in the news, unless something crazy happens, right? Again, unless something unexpected happens tomorrow, or if everybody just decides to show up unannounced and sell this baby off, we can easily see the past few days they've been trying and failing. Is tomorrow going to be the day? I couldn't tell you. But I do know one thing's for sure, though. We have a nice, big, wide open space between 88.5 and 73.7. That's about 102 ticks there to the downside. All right, it's a good 12 points down. So we get a lot of opportunity here if this thing breaks down. But again, I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening tomorrow. I hope I'm wrong, but you're going to know why tomorrow if we end up sitting here tomorrow. Remember, we got a big range today. So we may end up with a very narrow range tomorrow, right around that 88.5. If that's the case, guys, look for a short covering rally going back to the 1100. All right? If that's the case tomorrow, the best trade here is not going to be the short side. It's going to be the long side back to 1100. The only way we're going to get an easy short is if this thing just torches right through it. All right? Like a hot knife through butter. But again, I don't see it happening. I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to try to predict. So tomorrow, we're going to react. As of right now, though, short selling opportunities on Russell. Got to take profit at 88.5. And then if you can, hold on to a runner because I can guarantee you there's a bunch of stops being run down here. So what's likely to happen is we're likely to break through it, start to really jam lower, and then whoop, 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 right back up, right? So you'll see that initial stop run happening. You'll see the initial breakthrough. The stops will run. The rookies will try. And it'll probably end up going right back above. I can't tell you for certain, but that's what I'm expecting. All right, guys? So be aware tomorrow below the 88.5. And one last thing here before I let you guys go. Don't forget, I do not do the newsletter on Friday afternoon. So I thank you guys so much for coming out and seeing me here this evening. It's been a fantastic week. My wife, Megan, and I, we created SchoolOfTrade.com over 10 years ago. And we are so excited to welcome you guys as new students into our trade room, as new members of our trading community. We offer a beginner membership, intermediate, and advanced level memberships. We have perfect options for every type of trader. We have a lifetime membership to our community, and I get a great free trial to show you guys exactly what we're all about. Take some time. Don't forget to tell about a friend, share this with a friend, and come back and see me tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll open up our live trade room, and you guys have a great weekend. Hopefully the weather is nice and warm out there. It's been a great week here in Los Angeles, so hopefully you guys are enjoying that springtime weather, right? Rooting for the Bruins to this weekend. Go Bruins, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning in our live trade room. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.